So thank you, Dr. Wallace, Dr. Pecero, for joining us today. Can I ask both of you to simply introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are as well as your background?
I'll let my colleague go first.
Hi, everyone. My name is Veronica Pecero. I work at the University of Texas at Austin in the Office of Admissions. I work as Associate Director for Admissions, and I oversee our access and inclusion initiatives. I am originally from Houston, Texas, so was born and raised there. I went to North Shore Senior High, which is on the east side of Houston in Galena Park ISD, if you're familiar with North Shore. And then I went to UT Austin for undergrad. So I am also a Texas ex. So apparently I really liked it because now I never left college and I work for UT Austin as well. I am first gen. So I am the first person in my family to graduate college, but also like the first person in my family to graduate from high school. And I'm also first generation in terms of my my family was not born in the US. So a lot of first generation going on here. But yeah, I'm really excited to speak with you all. Anything else about me? I'm trying to think. I'm super introverted, so if I'm a little awkward, that's why, but I'm really happy to be here with y'all.
Like to say good afternoon to you. I'm Dr. Jerry Wallace. Currently, I serve as the Assistant Dean for the College of Public Service at the University of Houston downtown. And in that area, I support and oversee criminal justice, degrees, social work, and urban teacher education, both undergraduate and graduate degrees. I'm also the co-founder of our Men of Color initiative, which is specifically connected to male students of color who desire to continue to go into education pathways or any career pathways and trying to focus and move them through their spaces in college. A little bit about me. I'm originally from Huntsville, Texas, which is about an hour north of Houston. I was born and raised there most of my life. I came to Conroe ISD, where I actually finished high school at Oak Ridge High School, which is just north of Houston Spring Woodlands area. My stomping grounds as a teenager was anywhere from Huntsville all the way to Hiram Clark, Fort Bend. My uncles and aunts live in Fort Bend County out there in Mo City. From over that way. Hiram Clark, I had a cousin who went to Madison High School and DeBakey. We would go out there and hang out and play ball on the weekends. So, Third Ward, I know all about that. Good deal. I heard you guys mention, Aldine schools, HISD, Galena Park, whatnot. Very familiar with that. I heard my colleague mention North Shore. I used to work at the San Jack campus right next to North Shore High School. So very familiar with North Shore. Went to a couple of state games, football games with them. A little bit about me. More specifically, I'm a first gen as well. I am the first person in my family to graduate from college. Not the first to attend. I had several family members who attempted school and did not finish. My mom graduated from college at age 53 from Sam Houston State. I actually took one of her classes for her. Don't tell anybody. I had to make sure she got an A in that class. But she did well. And after graduating high school, I went on to Grambling State University. It's a HBCU in Louisiana. I actually went there to play sports, basketball. Didn't really work out well. I came back home and I transferred to Lamar University in Beaumont, which is actually where I finished all of my education. So I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Graphic Design, a Master of Education and Supervision, and a Doctorate in Higher Ed Leadership. I'm actually back in school. People are like, man, you went back to school again after all that? Yeah, I know it, right? I'm crazy. I went back to school and I am finishing a postdoctoral certificate from Cornell University in diversity and equity. So that's in general where I've been educational wise.
This is going to be fun. I can already tell. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love the energy. I love, and I hope that each one of our students sees themselves. This is why we chose Dr. Wallace and Dr. Pecero. We wanted you all to see yourself in our panelists. So we'll get started. So Dr. Wallace, Dr. Pecero, what was the college application process like for you? Did you have help from family members, from school counselors while you were applying to college, or was it kind of just on your own trying to figure it out?
I had a lot of support in terms of like emotional support from my family. Being first gen, my mom really didn't know in terms of like how to fill out the application or giving me advice in that sense. So it was very much of like, you got it, Mika, you can do it. I'm here. Like, don't forget this deadline. I was fortunate to have a really good school counselor that did help me in terms of just making sure I was meeting those deadlines and filling things out. But from what I can remember, it really was just me trying to figure it out on my own. I think that's why I really love research and learning things, just because I had to go and like just look at everything, look everything up, making sure I was on task with things. So it was a lot of just trying to figure things out myself. I don't really remember, in high school, and this was a while ago, I'm not going to mention how long ago because y'all don't need to know all that. But I don't remember, a lot of folks like coming to our school and like promoting college. And I know that that has changed now, which I'm glad that that has changed. So it really was just trying to figure everything out. So I'm really glad that y'all are a part of this program and this community-based organization that's able to provide those resources, because I wish I would have been a part of something like that when I was applying to college for sure.
Yeah, to echo Dr. Veronica, I was in the exact same boat. I did not have any type of college readiness preparation for school. No one came to my school to kind of talk about what is college. We did have a career center there, but it wasn't mandatory. I played sports in high school, and I really thought, that I was going to get an opportunity to go play, Division I sports. My school wasn't great in any one particular thing athletically, so we only had one person go to school somewhere really on like a full scholarship. But I had a really good mother. My mother was really pushing me. I was always, I guess, smart, you could say. Not, and I'll be honest with you, not that I really like school. I was smart because I wanted to play sports, and I had to keep my grades up because I had a mother who would cut both my legs off. Okay, so but I ended up at Lone Star College. My senior year, I took dual credit at Lone Star. It was called Lone Star College now. At the time, it was like Montgomery College or something. And I met a counselor there, African American male, who told me about dual credit. Of course, it wasn't my choice. Mom made me take dual credit. Trust me, guys, I did not want to. But anyway, it's the best decision though, right? I didn't know that at 17, right? But mom put me in dual credit going into my senior year in high school. Got me an early track, and I ended up transitioning, like I said, out of high school, going into Grambling State. And it was tough even then because I got to Grambling like a week late. I wanted to go to Baylor University. I got accepted to Baylor. I was a really high GPA student, got accepted to Baylor. But when I got there, uh, got ready to do orientation, my mom realized how much it cost. And she was like, no, can't go here. So Grambling was one of the schools on my list. And then they told me I had an opportunity to play basketball there. So that's why I ended up going to Grambling there. But yeah, that senior year transition, no real help at my school, really, to be honest. So again, the fact that you guys have some mentors on right now who are doing this, I could have really needed that.
So speaking of getting to that first college campus, what was that like? Your first days, your first few weeks on campus, being a first generation student, especially, was it difficult navigating that new space? Was it easy? Was it hard to find, your circle? What was it like?
It was overwhelming for sure. It I just remember getting there a couple of days early after moving in. And I'm kind of nerdy. So I was like the day before I mapped out all my classes, I went walking around. I was like, I refuse to be that freshman that is lost on the first day. So I planned it out like the day before. I did my little route and I was like, all right, I got this. But it was definitely overwhelming, especially, it was definitely a culture shock. I mean, at the time, really, I went to a high school that was predominantly, Black and Latinx, and then coming to UT at the time was definitely not that. That was definitely really difficult. But I think what helped me was, again, just researching things. One of the things that I really enjoyed was I got to meet with my academic advisor during summer orientation, and then right after I started college, got to meet up with her again, and she was super helpful. She was the best academic advisor that I could have asked for. And I think just having that support system of like, okay, I at least have one person in my corner that I can go to was really helpful. And then kind of learning from her of like, okay, I got to take responsibility for myself. I got to figure out my classes, gotta do this. But I also wanted to do it for other people too, because I wanted to make sure that there weren't other students that felt like I did, feeling lost, which I think is why I went into higher education, because ever since like that first semester, I was like, I got to help out my fellow peers in trying to figure things out. But as far as acclimating, one of the first things that I did or joined, I was part of a historically Latina sorority. So that was really great to have that, that group to feel kind of at home, to be able to talk about things, have similar backgrounds and things like that. But yeah, it was definitely overwhelming, but I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I'm glad that I was able to go to an institution that had so many resources and opportunities, and that I had people on my side that was like, you actually need to utilize these opportunities, and not let them pass by.
Yeah, my first year there, when I was at Grambling, um, I actually kind of felt like a fish out of water. To be honest, I was a high achieving student. I couldn't help that. Again, I told you my mom would cut both my legs off. And when I went to Oak Ridge High School, they were really academically inclined. So they were really trying to push us academically to kind of stay on top of it. And when I went to play basketball at Grambling, and I can tell you guys as an athlete, depending on where you are, sometimes class is not the most important thing. It's really about how many jump shots you can get up. So I found out some of the guys on the team were really just skating by. Like people were like taking tests for them and doing stuff for them, which is not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, in a sense, as it relates to some of the courses we did need help with. So don't get me wrong, right? But what I want to say is there was a personal motivation in me that I really wanted to excel academically because I understood that being an athlete wasn't the only. That's not how I want to identify myself as an individual. I really wanted to push myself academically and be able to kind of connect. And some of the students, and this is not at any one particular school. You can find this at any college across the country. Not everybody is there to learn. Right. Not everybody is in college to focus and actually build a career. Some people go to college because it's a fashion statement. I just want to be cool, or I want to hang out. I want to get out of my parents' house. And, it's the next step for them. And they're not really mature enough to handle it. And at 18, I was fairly mature. I'm the oldest son. I have three younger siblings, three younger brothers. So I'm the oldest son, and I was mature going in. So I was ready. And I didn't really have a really good experience there. I transferred home. Grambling was 7 hours away. So I transferred home and I came roughly back home to Texas. Beaumont, Texas at Lamar was about 2 hours away. And I really found myself there. I got connected with some mentors on campus, some men and women on campus who got me involved in different things. I did, I heard my Dr. Veronica mention she joined a sorority. I ended up joining a fraternity on campus. I got really active. I ended up tearing my knee, tore my ACL playing ball. So I didn't finish playing sports in school. Luckily, my brain was still intact. I was a scholar in school. I ended up being homecoming king my senior year at Lamar, and end up working there. That's why I started in higher education. I met my wife in college. Didn't go to school for that, but it happened, right? She's smarter than me, so I think I did okay. Um, yeah, that first year was very tough for me, just really trying to find out who I was as an individual and trying to find people who thought like I did. But it did happen. And I think I turned out okay.
You both mentioned a lot of great points, but finding your space on campus, whether it be a sorority or fraternity or an organization, or even some of the resources that I'm sure kind of helped you matriculate through college. Can you talk a little bit about those and how students can get involved in them or find those resources and just how important they really were to you?
So one of the other programs that I was a part of was a TRIO program, and TRIO is federally funded programs that specifically usually are for first generation or low SES or usually students of color. So I was part of something at UT called Longhorn Link, which is a student support services program. And I didn't actually join that until my junior year. Typically students can join it since their freshman year, but I didn't know about it until a friend told me. So I actually went up to them and I was like, I want to be a part of this. And the director was like, your GPA is pretty good. Like, do you really need it? So I was like, no, I need you. Like, I need the support. Like, I knew that I wanted to go to grad school. I knew that I just needed that community. So that was one of the programs that I really feel like changed my life because it made me realize what I wanted to do in life in terms of helping other students. And then just being involved in other organizations, whether it be, through community service organizations or other just fun organization as well. I think one of my problems, especially my first year, I guess is not a problem, but I was so focused on academics. Like Dr. Wallace said, like, I did not want to disappoint my mom because she too would have cut off my arms instead of Dr. Wallace's legs, she would have cut off my arms. But I really wanted to make her proud. And, she sacrificed so much for me to be able to get there. And so I focused so much on grades to the point where like I had an Excel sheet and like I had my numbers of like, all right, if I get this grade, what GPA do I get? Yeah, that was me. And so after a certain while, I was like, okay, you should also go to college to have some fun. So it was really important for me to find organizations where I could just kind of de-stress and just like focus on things that I really enjoyed. But I would just recommend definitely when you get to college, there are going to be so many opportunities and some of them are just going to be come to you. Like you may be placed in certain programs or say, here's an opportunity. But if you aren't, you have every right to be able to go and say, hey, I'm really interested in this. What is the sign up process? Or can I get involved in this? Trust me, so many colleges and universities have so many opportunities that they're there and sometimes they're not utilized. So why not utilize them? You're paying tuition and fees, right? Like they're yours. So definitely not being afraid to advocate for yourself.
Absolutely. To second that, it's really good to get involved on campus. Once I realized that basketball wasn't going to happen, like I wanted it to, the good thing is I connected with mentors on campus. It was by accident, true story. The mentor I met, I'm 6'5". The mentor I met was like 5'6". And he met me on the basketball court. I was in the gym one day working out. And this gentleman comes up to me and says, hey, you want to play a pickup game? And I was like, dude, you like half my height. What, are you serious? We played this game and we had a lot of fun. And he said to me afterwards, he says, hey, I played with some faculty, some teachers early in the morning. Could you kind of come in and kind of give us old guys some run? We just need to play with some younger guys. And I said, great. So I go in and I'm playing ball with him for like the next 3 months. And we just hanging out and I'm meeting these guys. But I never really asked him who he was, right? Never really had a dialogue with him. Because again, my whole mind was like, I want to play ball. That's the only reason I'm in the gym. Well, he pulled me to the side one day and he says, hey, what are you doing on campus? Are you involved? Are you connected with anything outside of this? And I said, no, not really. All I really know is go to school and graduate again. I'm the first person in my family to go to school. So I just knew I just need to go to school and finish it. And he says, well, what are you studying? And I said, well, I'm studying graphic design. And he says, okay. And he says, do you have a job or anything? I said, well, yeah, I just got hired on at the YMCA. And he says, well, why the YMCA? And I said, well, they got a gym in there. I need to be in the gym. And he looked at me, he says, I'll tell you what, why don't you come to the Office of Student Life? Because they have some student jobs on campus. And, just go in there tomorrow and see if they have something for you. So I said, sure thing, out of respect to him. The next day I go in and the secretary knew who I was coming in. She says, oh, you're Jerry. Great. Go ahead and fill out this application and we can get you started today. And I was like, get me started today? And she was like, yeah, Dr. J. Lambert told me you were coming in and he's going to put you in the graphic design office to do marketing for the college. And I said, who is Jay Lambert? And she looked at me like, what do you mean? So she points to this picture on the wall of this little short white guy who's like 5'5", and she says, that's the vice president of student activities. And I was like, oh, that's the little dude I've been playing ball with for like 3 months. And she was like, so it was such a funny story because Jay Lambert becomes one of my first mentors in college. And he connects me to all of the other individuals I needed to know. He got me my job on campus. And, he being the vice president of students at the time, I met other people, other leaders on campus, and that's really how I got connected. One thing I'll say to you is, and I'm still connected to him so many years later. One thing I'll say to you guys is, don't be afraid to allow other individuals to impact and impart wisdom on you. Because I've seen a lot of students over the years, myself, I've tried to encourage and motivate, and it's like I'm talking right past them. Be open to getting engaged and being active on campus because, again, him being half my height, of a different ethnicity and race of who I am, I had to be open enough to listen to what he had to say because he was really trying to push me in the right direction. And that is really how I got connected on campus. I got a job on campus, which I really needed that. So.
Wow, just wow to both of you. Dr. Veronica mentioned self-advocacy, which we mention a lot with our students. The importance of advocating for yourself, knowing what you need, and then simply making that known and asking if someone can help you. Networking, we talk about that a lot, and the importance that, it's not always what you know, sometimes it's who you know. Being able to walk in the door and find out that the vice president of student life is crazy. I imagine that was very, very helpful to you in your years at Lamar, right? Was that Lamar? See, yeah, that's amazing. So see, students advocacy, advocating for yourself, being responsible, and just knowing that the people that meet you are able to help you. You just have to let them help you. So Dr. Veronica, Dr. Jerry, there are many definitions for success. How would you define success to our students?
I feel like that has changed as I've gotten older. I feel like when I was younger, it was very much about, if I have this title, if I have made this amount of money, if I have this materialistic thing, that's success. And not to say that that isn't a part of success. I'm not going to lie and say like getting a good salary isn't successful, because trust me that you got to advocate for yourself in that way too. But I think as I've gotten older, it's definitely like, if what I'm doing is really making me happy, am I actually, having a purpose in life? Am I actually like making an impact in students? So, when I'm working with students and I help them navigate something, and then, they get to campus and, they're excelling and they're succeeding, like, to me, that's success. If I'm able to, implement some new program or initiative that I know is going to have lasting effects, positive lasting effects, like, to me, that's success. So I think it's definitely changed as I've gotten older, but, still money is a little bit part of that success. Again, you have to advocate for yourself in that. But definitely just making sure that I'm making an impact. And if I see that that is happening, then I view that as success.
Yeah, again, Dr. Veronica highlights, success changes with time and age. I have a son, so right now my level of success is making sure he sees a positive example. So it changes over time. What I could say as a college student, you really have to define what success means to you specifically, because it's great that you have parents or individuals who are supporting you and keeping you. But I learned, and my mom said something to me great. She said, don't go to college for me, meaning her. She says, go to college for you. Because you are setting the stage of who you want to become. She says, I'm not in class with you taking tests. And she says, I don't know nothing about no arithmetic. She says, so that's all you that's doing that. And what I realized is that I wanted to be something. I wanted to have a career. I wanted to, be able to be in my own space. And as I matured through college, I began to understand I really wanted to help people, which is why I heard Dr. Veronica say I kind of stayed in college. I started out in graphic design, and I did marketing in college for a while, but then I turned it over into student life and trying to connect more with students, because as I spent time in communities who had challenges, I saw that sometimes, in most cases, education was the great equalizer to a degree, to where if you had something beyond high school, it put you in a different space. I can personally say in my own family, I still have individuals in my family who call me and they need support. And I say to myself, had I never made it beyond a certain point, I would not have been able to give back to my own family. And it feels good to me to be able to know that I can support my family if they need something, or any student if they need something. So that essentially is where my success is being able to, even now, participate in commencement and graduation, and it feels good when I can shake a student's hand who I know literally was about to quit school. Their lives were in a tough situation. They had family issues, and I see them walk across the stage and they're crying like, I'm about to walk across the stage, and they got 1,000 people in the audience screaming their name. I've been on the stage to watch that happen. And I said, okay, those long nights, those emails, those phone calls, it did due diligence, because for me, I don't want to be, and I wish I was a billionaire, but I don't want to be a billionaire and have all the money and nobody else has any, right? I don't want to be sitting on the top of the hill by myself. That's lonely. So, whatever your level of success is, or whatever you believe you can give back to society in whatever field you go into, as long as you stay humble and you stay focused and have some personal motivation, you will achieve those levels of success at each stage.
I'll say I love the honesty. I appreciate that you both are kind of like, it's changing. My definition for success has changed over time, and that's okay. I'll encourage our students to be okay with that and find your definition for success right now, and then pursue that until it changes, and then keep pursuing whatever you view as success until you achieve that. So what were the biggest challenges, or one of the biggest challenges, that you have overcome to get to where you are right
Um, and I don't know if I fully overcome this, but I'll be honest. I know this isn't like a therapy session, but let's just treat it as such for right now. I would say self-doubt. That has been for me one of the biggest things to overcome. And like I said, that's something that I still haven't fully gotten over. It doesn't matter, how many degrees you have or what your title is. Sometimes there's always that sense of self-doubt inside of you, at least for me. But I think, I've learn to talk to people and reach out to people that I consider mentors, and trying to figure out what do I want to do next in life. And so I'm really grateful that even though I may have been super scared to go to college, or then to move to a new state for my PhD, that I was still able to do it. And even though I had that fear and that self-doubt, I was like, I got to do this, I just got to do it. I know, like, this is what I want to do. And just not listening to, what I think other people may think of me, or what is, portrayed in the media, or what, high level officials may say about certain race or ethnicities or genders. Right. I'm like really proud that, Latino women have like less than 1% of doctoral degrees, and I'm really proud to be one of those. And so I did it not just for myself, but also to hopefully inspire other Latinas and other women to continue to pursue that. But definitely self-doubt is still something that gets me to this day. So just know that you're not alone, especially when you go to college and you're in that first class and you're like, wow, everyone feels like they're so much smarter than me. Trust me, they're all just as scared as you are. Just some people are better at hiding it than others.
Yeah, she said that one great. Some people are good at hiding it. That's totally true. Um, One specific challenge I had in undergrad, it was actually my senior year. And of course I overcame it because I'm at this point now. But my senior year, I'm 2 months away from graduating. And I had been meeting with my academic advisor every year to go over my degree plan. And our advisor was actually our faculty advisor. This is also our professor. So I'm about 2 months away and I'm on the phone with my mom, like, yeah, I'm about to get ready to apply to graduate. It's gonna be, in December. I sent out invitations, right. And I'm also thinking about my grandmother. My grandmother had a lot to do with my upbringing. My parents separated when I was young, and I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. So I would have been the first person that she saw, her first grandchild, and at that point she had great grandchildren. So I was the first to finish. So it was a lot. Well, the day I'm getting ready to go apply for graduation, I meet with my faculty advisor for the last time. And this person tells me that I'm 1 credit short of graduating. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute. This somebody got a joke. Eddie Murphy is joking. Somebody is pulling my chain somewhere, right? So we go over my plan, and again, we do this, every semester. Long story short, he gives me this paper that I had to go get signed by like 3 different executives at the university, and I had to get it done by like that day. So I'm like, really? Well, ironically, they had put me in the wrong class. I was in like a PE class I didn't need. And as a matter of fact, I had the class right afterwards. So I'm going to this PE course and we're just walking around the track. And that day, it looked like it was going to rain outside. And I was just so hurt. I was like, I don't care if it rains. And I walk around the track and the coach was like, hey, y'all guys can go home. It's going to rain. It's going to thunder. And I was like, all right, whatever. He's like, well, let's go home. And I was like, whatever, man. Like, I just was so down that day, right? So I walk around the track and I say, I hope it rained. I hope it rained. It didn't rain. I go back to the dorm room and I call my mom and she says, all right, tell me the good news. I said, Mom, bad news. And I tell her the story and she says, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and cry and pout about it? She says, no, you go down there and you go get that paper signed because you're going to walk across that stage. Again, I have the mother who's going to cut my legs off, right? You're going to walk across that stage. No, you almost there. Stop pouting, go get it done. So of course I walk halfway across campus. I go sit in this person's office and that person's office, and the last office I'm sitting in, it's like ice cold in there. So I'm sitting in there waiting on this gentleman to come out and sign this document for like an hour. I'm freezing, and it's just me and the secretary. It's quiet in there. You can hear a pin drop. Finally, the guy comes out. He looks like he's half asleep. He needs some coffee, some energy drink or something. I was like, sir, I just need you to sign the paper so I can go turn it in. He wants to give me a speech. I'm like, man, just sign the paper, please. I just want to graduate. Just sign the paper. He signs the paper. I take it to the registrar's office. They stamp it. Boom, I'm ready to go, right? So I call my mom, and she, of course, she gives me this pep talk. And the thing I learned that day, which has continually been my motivation ever since, is that sometimes it gets toughest the closer you get to the end. Not that you're not supposed to finish, but it's supposed to show your resiliency and your grit to cross the finish line. I ran track in high school, and anytime you get to the finish line or you get close to the edge, it's when everybody tries to make that last push to get over quicker. They tell you to lean forward to try to make that last push. And that's where I was at that state. And I realized that day, and I've continued to try to live by that, is that anytime I have a challenge, which you consistently gonna have challenges, guys. I don't care what you do, how much money you make, whatever positions you're gonna get, you're gonna have challenges at every stage. Is that what are you gonna do? Are you gonna be resilient enough and believe in yourself enough to overcome that and push through it? Yeah, I'm smiling now. You see me smiling, but there are days I literally have to go walk around the block, walk around the campus, and give myself a good pat on the back and get back in there. So just believe in yourself and continue to push forward.
I'll say, if you guys want to come teach our classes, that's fine too, because it seems that that's exactly what you all are doing. You're mentioning all types of things that we've been introducing to students: resiliency, grit, things that they're going to need to be successful. They might not realize it now, but like you said, there will be things, there will be times where it looks like the finish line. Yes, ma'am, you did. Yes, ma'am, you did, Veronica. You did just get offered a job. I will say that. Just like you said, when things get hard, you're more than likely closer to the finish line than you believe. And it's so easy to give up. It's so easy to say, well, I tried, I got this far. No one else has gotten this far, but it's like, no, keep going. You're so close to that finish line. So I think the message there, students, is that just like Dr. Wallace was saying, sometimes even now he has to take a walk and give himself a pep talk. So it's okay if even now as high school seniors, juniors, freshmen on this call, y'all have to do that. And it's okay if you have to do that later on in life too. Dr. Jerry, Dr. Veronica, students are saying you really have their attention. So thank you for being so engaging. What is the best career advice that either of you have been given? And would you like to impart that same advice on our students?
I would say I have a couple. The first would be networking. I know you hear that word all the time. And let me just tell you, as someone, like I mentioned before, that is an introvert, talking to strangers is like my biggest fear. Even talking to people I know is my biggest fear, right? So like trying to network and do all of that, it kills me inside sometimes, but it is something that you have to do, right? Because I'm sure you've heard like it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that really is true sometimes in terms of trying to get new job opportunities. So it is important to network. And I think I put it in the chat earlier, like I can't tell you how many times I've given out like my card to students and I'm like, hey, contact me if you need help or if you need anything. And nobody ever emails me. I'm like, come on, like I'm telling you, like I'm here for you. I am, willing to, answer any questions that you have. So really take that opportunity. And then the second one I would say is if someone offers you an opportunity like a job or something or an internship, take it. Don't let fear or self-doubt that maybe you're not ready for it or maybe you don't deserve it get in the way of you taking that opportunity. I know I've learned that the hard way when I've been offered an opportunity. Even with this position, when I got offered it, I thought, I'm like, am I really ready? I've only been here for a certain amount of time, like I just graduated. Like all of this doubt and fear came in, and it could have been very easy for me to be like, you know what, no, I'm just going to stay where I'm at. I'm fine. So please don't let self-doubt and fear get in the way of taking advantage of those opportunities that are offered, because if they're offered for a reason, because you deserve it and because you're qualified for it. So I would definitely say those are my two big tips for y'all.
An example I had my junior year in college, to Dr. Veronica's point, I had an opportunity that was given to me and I almost missed it. My junior year in college, one of the other vice presidents, he was over engagement. He had told me to apply for this program. They were taking some students to like this university weekend event, and they were going to be with all these other college students, and they were going to get on a bus, and they were going to stay like the weekend. It was supposed to be like 15,000 students at this thing. Well, I didn't want to go because I didn't know anybody else who was going. I wanted to chill that weekend and just sleep, right? I was tired from classwork. I just wanted to sleep in the dorm room and just pass out. I didn't want to do anything. Well, as the deadline approaches, we had a dorm phone at the time, and my dorm phone rings, which most of the time is my mom calling, right? So I think it's my mom calling. So I pick up the phone, and it's the other VP. And he was like, Jerry Wallace. It's like, yes, hello, yes, sir. He said, come to my office right now. I said, oh, am I going to the principal's office? Like, I'm in college. Like, what do you? So I get up and I walk to his office, and he says, close the door. And guys, he gives it to me. He gives it to me. And basically what he says was, I gave you an opportunity to go to something that only a few select students get to go to. We're only taking 20 students from the university to go, and it's paid for. Why didn't you fill out this application? He says, fill the application out right now. And there were a whole lot of words he said on top of that. So I fill out the application and I go turn it in. And the next day is that Friday. So we're getting ready to get on the bus. And sure enough, that's like 15 people on the bus I knew. And I'm getting on the bus. And they were like, Jerry, I ain't know you was coming on the trip. And I was like, yeah, Mr. Ballard told me I had to come. Oh yeah, he told me I had to come too. So he's like, oh, yeah, man, I got to talk too. Guys, I had the greatest weekend. Like I got there, we got on the bus, they gave us all kind of food. I had all kind of gift bags and paraphernalia. They gave us tennis shoes and hats. I mean, it was like the greatest weekend I ever had in college. Years later, Mr. Ballard would end up being one of the people who would write my letter of recommendation to get me into graduate school. So had I, number one, not listened to him, which I didn't really, but had I not listened to him the second time, I might have missed the opportunity. And that was as a college student. And I can tell you that even as you move forward in your career, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. If you don't know anybody, it doesn't matter. Go anyway. Even if you don't think you're not interested, go. Because you never know what you're gonna hear, who you might meet, what you could even take back and give to somebody else. And that was one of the events in college that really kind of kick-started me as a student. And then, again, I really got kick-started. So that's why I went. So
Great advice. When you're given an opportunity, when an opportunity is presented to you, even if you don't think you're good enough, even if that self-doubt is starting to creep in a little bit, take advantage. The person who is recommending or suggesting the opportunity most likely knows what, or not most likely, they know what they're suggesting to you, right? They know that you're capable. They know the potential that you have, and they know that you're perfect for whatever opportunity they're presenting, or else they wouldn't present it, right? So same thing with CCC. Students, every lesson almost, we give you some type of opportunity, whether it's a scholarship, whether it's a summer program at a university, take advantage. You're not interested, or you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't even know what that is. Take advantage and learn, and then you'll know whether or not you're interested. Thank you, great advice, both of you. What excites you most about your current position at UHD and UT?
I think for me, it is, working with students like myself. So for access and inclusion, my team, we work on programming and events specifically for first gen students, for Black, Latinx, Native, Indigenous students, just making sure that they know that they're going to find a community at UT, helping them just navigate the whole college process. One of the things we always say is like, obviously we want you to come to UT, right? But at the end of the day, we're just trying to help you navigate college in general, because we know that UT may not be for everyone. And so we want to make sure that you're going to end up at the right place for you. It's also working with like awesome organizations like CCC. I've been really happy to be able to work with you all for the past couple of years. But really it's just working with students and being able to just help them, with all of their questions, and, excited just to see like this new group of folks coming into college, whether it be at UT or somewhere else. So I'm really passionate about my job, and I love working in admissions, even though it can be really, really stressful sometimes, especially like right now with everything going on. But I think it's just awesome being able to work with students and also families, and just helping them navigate this whole system.
yeah, I definitely think that's just the nature of being in education, is really advocating for you as students. Um, as I mentioned earlier, like I don't like being the only person in the room or the only person who has something. I like being around, friends and family members and colleagues who we can all enjoy it together. And it feels really good uh, seeing students walk across the stage, seeing students who I've had personal relationships as they've been in college overcome things. I've mentored students who were in elementary school, have now graduated college. It's been that long, have now graduated college. And they're like, I just graduated college last year. I said, last year? You graduated last year? It's like, yeah, I remember you when you were third. Yeah, I graduated college and I got a job. And it feels really good to see that. It also feels good whenever I see their parents and their parents come tell me. I was at an event prior to the pandemic, and a mom came up to me. I had never met this mom before, and she hugged me, and I didn't see it coming. I went to go shake her hand, and she hugs me, and she's crying, and she says, "I just want to thank you so much for pouring into my baby. I just want to thank you, my baby." Just, and I say, "Yes, ma'am." And she says, she's done so good, and she talked about some of the stuff that her daughter was able to do. So it's really inspiring to me personally to be able to help uh, uh, create opportunities for students. And in my position as assistant dean, I'm the second highest person in our college. So I pretty much almost 95% of the decisions I make. So the fact that I have that level of authority, I also take responsibility, the humility of the responsibility to make sure that I'm creating ways and opportunities for you to be able to succeed. So once I see you cross that stage, I knew that at least I was able to help. I was able to create a policy or update an addendum for you to allow you to actually move across that stage. So that's what I do in my job, and it's continuously building on that. So that's what I like most about what I do now.
You both are, I can see the passion. The passion is definitely there. So I imagine both of you are very, very great at your job. I'm sure students love working with you. I'm sure the impact that you make is on a daily basis. That much I'm sure of. So we have some students on the call who are interested in UHD and or UT. So what are some of the first generation resources on your campus specifically that are there able to help them once they get there?
So we have a whole first generation initiatives that is campus wide. So various different departments and divisions have different programming. The first one that kind of, well, even before they officially enroll. So like even during the admissions process, we have like first generation chats and first generation like admitted student sessions once a student is admitted. But once you get to orientation, then they have first generation orientation session as well, just to talk about everything that you need to know as a first generation student. And then from there on, there's kind of just different programming and events that happen just depending on where you at in your educational career. So there's always like a first gen kickoff, first generation like staff, faculty, mixers with students, things like that. And we also have first generation ambassadors that students, once they get into like their second year can apply for so that they're able to mentor incoming first generation students. And then I think within the past 2 years, we implemented a first generation living learning community. So for folks that are living in the residence hall, they can be part of that first gen living learning community. And then another thing that was established a couple of years ago as well is our first generation graduation. So we're really, happy to have that alongside our Black graduation, our Latinx graduation, Lavender graduation, now having a first generation graduation, which is, a lot more intimate. Students are able to share a little bit more about themselves. And, seeing, like Dr. Wallace said, seeing families so happy to have their children walk across the stage is really something awesome to witness. So yeah, a variety of different resources.
One thing that we're pushing right now for UH Downtown is our Gator Pledge. Basically, what it does is it supports first time in college students who come from families who have a $50,000 income or less. They could essentially get a full ride to come to UHD. So if a family has 50,000 or less and a student is coming out of high school with a 2.5 GPA, which is our minimum requirement to get into the university, and if they come in as a freshman and they maintain full-time hours each semester, they continuously will get basically full grant aid that basically pays for school. Our tuition for full academic year is only about 7,200. So you're only looking at about 3,400 or so per semester for full-time classes. So that's something that we've been pushing for the last couple of years. We are a Hispanic serving institution, so we get a lot of grants and additional monies from both the state and the federal government to support our growing Hispanic and African American population at UHD. In our college, specifically in education, we partner with Houston Independent School District for our Grow Your Own program. So we're recruiting young men and young women in teacher education pathways. For that program, we have the Call Me Mr. program that's dedicated to males coming out who want to become teachers. In a legacy program as well. All of those programs have additional scholarships and support built around those. You also have those what we call Gator Ambassadors. So when you come into your freshman year and you take the UHD seminar class, the freshman seminar, you have a Gator Ambassador who's basically your peer mentor, who's embedded in that class. They're usually a junior or a senior, and they're embedded in your freshman seminar class, and they help you as a freshman get acclimated on campus. They make sure you attend all the events on campus, any type of swag or book bags or t-shirts or whatever that we give away. They make sure you get all of that. If there's homecoming events, etc. They're kind of your big brother or big sister to try to make sure that you participate in some of those events. Also, they help you with your academics, right? So if you need any kind of tutoring, any support resources on campus with the reading and writing lab, they make sure to connect you to those spaces, and they check up with you during your freshman year. We actually had a meeting earlier today to talk about our orientations coming up for the summer, about how we're trying to connect more with our freshmen, incoming high school seniors, to make sure that they know about the resources, they know about financial aid, the additional scholarships that they can qualify for ahead of time.
Thank you both. So I'll say Dr. Veronica put both the Gator Pledge in the chat as well as Texas Advanced Commitment for UT. I'll say if you're interested in either of these schools, they've just given you a lot of great information. And so just know that if you decide on either of these, not only will you be in good hands with people like Dr. Jerry and Dr. Veronica, there are also organizations, resources on campus for first generation students. I'll say I just have one more question and I'll open it up to students. So like we put in the chat, feel free to type your question in the chat or get ready to take yourself off mute and ask yourself. So my last question is, what last advice would you give first generation and or low income students wishing to further their education?
I would say the first thing is don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help, especially from those institutions that you're interested in. Now really is the perfect time to really get to know colleges and institutions because pretty much everything is virtual. So like you literally can just click so many different events, virtual campus tours. I mean, I know we're having events, I swear, like every day, but it's so easy to get connected with institutions right now because everything is virtual. So definitely, don't ignore your email if you're signed up for those different mailing lists for the different institutions. Click your email, see what's happening, and get to know those institutions. I think it's so important to do your research and actually see what fits. So you want to make sure that you're picking an institution, not just because all your friends are going there or, maybe your family is like, you really got to go there. Like it really has to be about what fits for you, right? And by fit, it's not just, do I like the campus because it's really pretty, but do they actually have the program that you're interested in? Are they going to support you? And with support, it's not just financially, which is obviously a really huge thing, but also thinking like, are they going to support me all 4 years? Are they going to actually help me get to graduation? Like what program of support is in place to get me there? So that's the research that you really want to do and making sure that you're going to be happy there for all 4 years or longer that you're there. So that would definitely be my advice is do your research.
Absolutely. I second that. Um, when I was coming out of college, again, I didn't know to do the research. I only knew big name schools just because of what I saw on TV. My mom only knew the same. My mom was pushing me to go to Sam Houston. Again, I'm originally from Huntsville. So she was like, just go to Sam Houston. I said, I don't want to go back home. So I want to leave. I want to see something different. But she also told me to go to Lamar, which is where I ended up. So mama was right. But I can tell you guys that definitely do your research. If you can, great. Dr. Veronica said, so much is virtual. You can go to UHD's main page and they have a virtual tour where it's actually somebody talking to you and they show you like the different buildings and they're talking to you and the image pops up. Some other universities have that too. But really look at the type of program. Yes, I want to advertise UHD, but I can also tell you that there are some 2-year programs out there that do really good at some local community colleges. Sometimes people often say, and especially whenever I was growing up, is that we had to go like to a major D1 school. Like you have to go there. Like everybody had to go to university. And what I realized is even especially in Houston, Texas, you have a lot of community colleges that actually have some 2-year programs that you can get a 2-year degree and almost be done and go into a career, depending on what you want to do, right? Not everything, but depending on what you want to do. But some of that could be cost effective for you and your family. Maybe you have to stay close to home for support. That's important as well. I remember helping some students a few years ago whenever I was at San Jack, and some students wanted to do process technology and instrumentation. They really wanted to do engineering, but they were struggling in the math. And I said, well, here's instrumentation, here's process design. Here's some things that's very similar, and they end up getting into the field, and they did pretty well. But if you can, at some point, visit campus. Take your parents, okay? I think your parents and your family are a big part of your success as a student too, because once you get into college, you're going to need support while you're there. The good thing is whenever I would come home on weekends or during summers, my mom let me study. I had 3 younger brothers, and by that time they were high school, and 2 of them were adults. So they knew if I'm at home doing my work or I'm studying, or if I had to go to the library or something, my mom would give me the keys to her car and let me go study, because she understood that education was a part of my success. And I've had students who say, well, I can't focus at home, or I can't focus over here, over there, because it's too much going on. So it's important that you find an institution that fits you, and that it's a family decision, right? It's really a family decision. So just make sure that whether you're staying at home or if you're going far off, just make sure that you have the support that you need to get through. Find a campus that fits you. I want to echo that again. Where I went, where I ended up, was it really fit who I was, and I stayed connected with them many years later. So
Thank you both. I'll say, kind of echoing what Dr. Veronica said, guys, we say it all the time, do your research. Don't just go off to a school because you see it on TV or you've heard about it, or, you hear a lot about UT, UHD, UH, and A&M, right? Find other schools that might fit you better. Those schools are great schools, but they might not have the major that you want to pursue. They might not have it might not be in the part of town. Maybe you want a rural or a more suburban or a more downtown. Whatever you want, you have to do the research to find that. Okay. And then just like what Dr. Wallace was saying, the family engagement is very, very important. So our monthly family meetings, where we invite your parents to learn exactly what we're teaching you so they can help you be successful, that's very important. Okay. Being able to push yourself and kind of help yourself get through college is one thing, but I think both of them have mentioned the support of having people in their corner that are helping them get towards their goal of having that college degree. So with our family meetings, continue to attend those. Seniors, we have one tonight. I'll put that plug in there. For know that you can get financial aid and scholarships to pay for college. Like he said, if you don't want to stop at a 2-year, you don't have to. Here at CCC, our mission is going to that 4-year institution, and you guys are more than capable of doing it. Like he mentioned, you can take dual credit, you can take AP or pre-AP courses and prepare yourself in high school to go to that 4-year institution. So thank you both so much for taking time to speak to our students. I will say I did see one question in the chat. Alana asked about transferring credits to colleges. I see Veronica has gotten back with her. So yes, at UT, they do accept college credits from various institutions as well as dual credit. You can look up the credits that they accept on that website, and every college or university is going to have something similar depending on the school that you transfer to. I know Dr. Wallace, you transferred. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
yeah, I just posted something in the chat too about transfer. We are in Houston, so if you go to mostly any Houston school, I'm actually a part of the Houston GPS, which is the guided pathways. So we actually have what we call articulation agreements, so just agreements with all the community colleges and universities within our region. So if we have students who are taking general core courses, English, math, history, science, government, whatnot, those core courses are going to transfer into UHD. If you're going into any specific majors, your STEMs, your businesses, et cetera, you definitely want to touch base with whatever that college is because they may have specific courses that they want you to take at that university. We call it residency. So you have to have so many credit hours at a university in order to graduate from that school. But a good thing is again, and I posted it in the chat, it has all of the degree plans, articulations at the school. But definitely when you meet with a college advisor at any community college, they're going to show you that information. They're going to guide you to what it is. But it's always good if you go in there with it in your hand because it showed that you kind of did your own research, your own background as to what it is that you want.
So we have a great question in the chat from Ms. Olabube. She says, I want to know if there are any programs that help reduce workload or stress for students that might have dual majors because of how time consuming that might be.
So I would say this is where working with your academic advisor is critical. So a lot of students that do, dual majors or dual degrees, at least at UT Austin, shouldn't be taking any more time to graduate than someone that only does one major. Because you're working so closely with your academic advisor to make sure you're taking the proper amount of classes. Also, one thing to consider is for all of our majors, we have a core curriculum. So regardless if you're in business or engineering or liberal arts, everyone's going to have to take that same core curriculum, typically like your first 2 years. So you already kind of have that off of your plate. And so really you're only focusing on all of those major courses. And some of them can be part of both degrees, just depending on what that class is. So it really shouldn't be giving you, an extra semester, an extra year if you're working with your academic advisor. As far as other programs to reduce stress or to help with the workload, I know at UT and at other institutions, we have like our writing center, right? That people sometimes don't utilize because they're like, I don't need help with my writing. But it's more of like, hey, if you can get that additional help to support you with your essays or writing or anything like that, then use it. Same thing with our tutoring system. That is a place that you want to go to because it's not only just one-on-one tutoring. For us, we also have group tutoring. So helping students with connecting them with students that may be also in the same class so you can kind of work together on things. So definitely just reaching out and kind of taking advantage of those different centers on campus.
Yeah, I think Dr. Veronica echoed it great. Most colleges and universities have centers, have programs. We have the Gator Success Center at UHD. I actually oversee our academic advising in our college. So when she echoes advising, it's really essential that they help you navigate the degree plan because as you're taking those courses and you're moving through, they're going to let you know where you can double major in. So for instance, we have students in our area who do a major minor. So they may major in criminal justice and minor in political science, or major in criminal justice and minor in psychology. So they may take some courses, what we call supplemental instruction towards that major, but it still keeps them on track to graduate in the appropriate time frame, right? So when you want to talk about balancing that, the good thing is that a lot of faculty in your programs actually have additional programs, or they have focus groups, or they have organizations like we have the Be a Teacher Club, right, that you can join and be a part of. And those where students can get connected and they have study groups and focus groups together. Our Scholars Academy, our Honors Academy, different groups like that. Because again, it's all about making sure that you stay on track with the degree plan, but you also have extracurricular activities built in that kind of keep you connected and involved. Because I'm gonna tell you guys right now, in college or in life, right? I'm still up some nights at 1 a.m. in the morning, checking emails, responding, doing work, or I'm preparing for the next day, right? Or I wake up early in the morning to prepare. So I don't want you guys to think that in your life's work you're going to get away from work, or that you're not going to have long days even after you transition out of college. It's a part of life. You make your coffee, get your 5 hour energy drink. Sometimes you have to do that, right? So I learned that in college. Whenever I was studying graphic design, I remember I had to take advanced art history, and I had a professor whose name I won't mention. She was really hard. And I literally had to study all night to understand these subjects because it was an essay test. So it was more of the knowledge you had to know versus like multiple choice questions. So it was a part of who I was as a student. And then when I transitioned into my adult life, it was actually easier for me when I started writing my dissertation to like go back into that mode to be up at night, because essentially when you're taking those courses or you want to be successful, it does take a little push to navigate through. But that's what your academic advisors are there for. Those college success centers are there for, to help you do that.
Resources, 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 resources. They will help you work smarter and not harder, guys. Use your resources. And as Kathy put in the chat, you're paying for them anyway. Whether you use them or not, you're being paid, you're paying to use them, okay? Next question from Miss Alexandria. She says, what are things to avoid in college? What are things that you should just stay away from, things that you should not do in college?
I won't make the joke. I was gonna say in Austin, avoid 6th Street. Just kidding. But I think it's knowing your limits, right? I think sometimes students go to college and they're like, I'm free and I'm just gonna do whatever I want and just kind of go buck wild. You have to like, yes, college can be super fun, but remember you're also there to get an education. So I would just say make sure you have a good balance, right? Like you shouldn't be going out every night, especially if you have the test the next morning. So just kind of avoiding those things where you're going to be struggling the next day or struggling to get, your work done or graduating on time. I would definitely say avoid that. The other thing I would say to avoid or be responsible with is like signing up for a bunch of credit cards. I can't tell you how many students like get to college and they're like, I'm going to sign up for all of these credit cards and do all of this stuff. Like you got to pay that money back. So just remember, like you want to be financially responsible too, in terms of, like not spending all of your money, eating out all the time. Because trust me, as you get older, you'll look back and you're like, I wish I would have been a lot more responsible with my money. I wish I would have saved up, when you get older and you're trying to like, buy a house and do all of that adult stuff. So that would be my tip.
My tip would be choose your friends wisely. You may have heard me say earlier is that not everybody is there for school to get an academic career. Not everybody's there for that. You may go in with that mindset. Yeah, I'm in college, but I can tell you guys, having been a student and I work with students, that you know that second week after college has started, you should be in the grind of doing your work, of communicating to your teachers. It may be different in high school, where I remember my classmates and even current students I see now in high school don't really have a relationship with their teacher, their faculty member. They think that this person is an authority figure that they can't build a relationship with. And sometimes some teachers do that. So don't get me wrong, it could be the teacher. However, when you come to college, it's important for you to stay in touch with the faculty member, to ask questions, to go to their office hours, to really get involved with what is your academic success in school. Because I find a lot of students wait until the last minute, or they think somebody's going to give them extra credit, or assignments beyond the late day to turn in work, and then they go hang out with their friends during the regular week or during the weekend when they should be studying. I can tell you guys, I was the only African American male to graduate 2 times in a row. My bachelor's and my undergraduate degree. I was the only African American male in my class. There were no Hispanics in my class at all. When I got to the doctorate degree, I was one of 2 Black males, and there were 2 Hispanic females, and out of about 26 in my cohort, which is still a very small number. I can tell you guys from personal experience, friends and colleagues who I have seen, who were not really focused in school. They did not put in the work. They did not go meet with their professors. They were not at the tutoring center. They were not getting help. They were not sitting on the front row in class. They were sitting in the back row in the back sleep because they went to the party last night because they was, doing their thing. Trust me when I say that you have plenty of time for that, right? I hung out. I had good times in college, but I knew my work was done. So I just highly encourage that you build relationships with your teachers, and that you stay away from so-called friends who are not really in it to win it.
Great advice. Use your resources, find your real friends that are there for the same reasons as you are. Find a good balance. I hope we're taking notes and really going to utilize the advice that we've been given. The last question I see, I believe it was from Evie. She asked, how do you find the department that fits you? College of Natural Science, College of Pharmacy, how do you know what to pursue?
That's a hard one. I mean, I think I always struggle with like telling, 17, 18-year-olds to like try to pick a major and figure it all out in that first year. I think if you know kind of like the career path that you want, then that kind of helps a little bit in terms of trying to determine what department best fits. And also knowing that different departments vary across institutions. So while economics may be in the business school at one institution, it may not be in it in another one. So again, that's where the research comes in handy. But if you are still unsure while you're applying to college, that's okay. Most institutions have like an undeclared option. I know at UT Austin, you can apply undeclared, and that basically means like for your first year or your second year, you're just going to work on that core curriculum, but you're going to be put in our School of Undergraduate Study where you're going to have advisors that are going to help you figure out what you actually want to do and help you kind of navigate that career path that you want and getting into a specific major. So don't feel like you have to have it all together when you're applying in terms of like, this is exactly what I want to do, because that often changes. So just, kind of look at what different majors an institution offers, and kind of similar to what we discussed earlier about, don't just go for certain institutions. Also, don't just go for certain majors. Everyone wants engineering, everyone wants science, everyone wants, X, Y, and Z. And those are great. If you want that, absolutely go for it. But also know that there's a bunch of other majors that you probably have never heard of that are just as great and that are going to give you just as great of a career than you can imagine. So just don't rule those out just because you don't hear about them as often.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that you guys have that I did not have at the time was you guys have YouTube. I'm on it all the time now. With any type of careers that you're interested in, just get on YouTube and see if they have some information or somebody's kind of talking about what do they do day to day, right? Hey, I'm an educator. Hey, I'm an engineer. Hey, I'm a nurse. This is what I do day to day, right? So you can kind of get a perception or an idea of what that career does and what's the trajectory of that career, right? Okay, I can go from being a nurse to a nurse practitioner to a doctor to a therapist, whatever, right? And then when you take that knowledge and you go and you look up whatever school you're interested in, some schools now, most schools now have videos. They have a day in the life of a UT student, right? A UHD Gator. Go watch that video clip, and there's a student or there's a professional who's actually telling you, this is what our program does. This is what we do, right? So now you have a perception of what the career might be off this video you saw, and a perception of what their college or their program looks like, right? So you kind of get these two ideas, you kind of put them together, and then you say, as a person, does this align with my personal mission? Does this align with who I am as an individual and where I want to go and what I want to be? So coming out of high school, I was going to go into art, into design. I wanted to be an architect because I took an advanced architectural course in high school, and I was really good at it. I could always draw, and my best friend, he was doing architecture. So I said, "Hey, we're gonna go into business together, and let's get our degrees." So whenever we got into it, he was great at the math side of architecture. I was kind of iffy about it. So I said, "Well, let me do graphic design." Right. I'll do the graphic and the marketing side, and you focus on the math side. And that's really how I found myself into that pathway. But I can tell you guys, when I actually got into the program, graphic design it was a little boring. I say that because you guys have way more technology now than I had then. So we were doing a lot of hand drawing versus like some of the computer stuff that we're doing now, right? So if I could learn the stuff that you guys are doing now back then, oh man, I'd have been sold, right? But don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the degree. And when I got to my master's degree, I actually changed it into education instead of MBA, which is where I started. Because when I got connected on a college campus, I realized I really enjoyed engaging with people and I enjoyed the atmosphere of a college. So I said, let me go into education, and that's kind of how I shifted. But again, you guys have videos that you guys can watch. When I do career advising with students, I also pull up job descriptions. So I go on Indeed.com, I go on Higher Ed Jobs, I go on, it used to be Monster and other stuff, and I pull up a job description and I'll tell a student, hey, if you want to be this, let's look at the trajectory. Look at this job description, and it tells you what it takes to get that job. Oh, you may have to have 10 years doing this or 5 years doing this, or you may have to have this degree or this certificate, right? So it kind of gives you a perception of in 20 years, if this is what I want to be, these are the different credentials that I need to get there, right? So if you take all that information and you go into whatever that school is and you meet with that advisor or that college success person, you can say, hey, this is the information and research I've gathered. How does this fit with what y'all have? Right? And then you'll know, right? But YouTube.
Research, guys. You've heard CCC say it all the time. I think they gave great advice, Jerry, Dr. Jerry in particular, the YouTube, use YouTube, guys. You can use it for anything. You can look up, like you said, day in the life of a UT student. If you want to go one step further, you can Google a day in the life of a computer science student at UT and find out exactly what a schedule of a student studying that major is. You can be as specific as you'd like. If you think back to this week and even last week, career cruising for our sophomores and juniors. I know seniors, it was probably a while ago, so you have to think back. But career cruising has some of these same things. You can go and look up interviews from people in these professions. You can figure out what the education requirements are. Do your research is what he's saying. It will help you know exactly what you want. And then, like he said, it helps you figure out how to get there. You basically have your blueprint right there. And Kathy just put in the chat, y'all spend a lot of time on Netflix. I'm sure you can switch that over and do something that your future self will thank you for, okay? Are there any last minute questions or anything that Dr. Jerry, Dr. Veronica would like to say before we end?
You're welcome to contact me. So I'll put my email in the chat if y'all have questions about anything. Like I said earlier, I always give my email out and no one ever emails me. So that makes me kind of sad. So feel free to email me with any questions that you might have, either about UT or just about college in general.
Same. I put my information in the chat, and I did see a question about sports. UHD, not to be confused with the University of Houston. We do not have collegiate sports division, NCAA. Okay, we have club sports, which means just like your high school team, right? You're not on scholarship. You tried out for the team, you made the team, you travel, you play against other schools, but you're not on scholarship, right? So we have club sports, uh, men's and women's basketball, women's volleyball, men's baseball, men's and women's soccer, wrestling, powerlifting, and soccer, if I didn't say that. The wrestling team actually does compete. We are the only school in Houston that actually has a wrestling team that does compete in NCAA. So they compete against A&M and some other colleges. So we do have a competitive wrestling team that does compete on the collegiate stage. So not to be confused with the University of Houston Cougars. We don't University of Houston downtown, the Gators. Good question.
So students, if we would like to say thank you by taking ourselves off mute, showing a reaction, typing in the chat. Dr. Jerry and Dr. Veronica have or will put, or they both put their contact information in the chat. So like I said, please utilize it. If you have any additional questions, you want to learn more, or you just want to introduce yourself and thank them personally, feel free to do that. I'll say thank you both so much again for taking time out of your evening to speak to students. We greatly appreciate it as their advisors, as their mentors. And as you'll see in the chat, they thank you as well. Time to go watch Netflix.
Thank y'all both so much. You know, and talk about networking and contacts. That's how we got to know both Veronica and Jerry, just through CCC working with UT and UH downtown. And they're tremendous advocates for you all. And they have been such a resource for us. And so thank you very much. Thank you for saying yes when we asked. We really appreciate it. Y'all are just amazing, amazing. You're both amazing at your jobs and you are amazing today. So thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one.